No more feeling sorry for yourself, okay? If you have no friends, it might not be you, but it might be your beliefs. From our exposure to TV shows, movies, social media, and just some messages we hear when we're growing up, we definitely form ideas about what our friendship should be like. But as I'm sure you know, it hardly ever happens that way. I've spent a lot of time crying over friendships, and whilst I can't say that I've figured it all out, as I've gotten older, I've definitely realised that maybe my problems with friendships weren't really problems with my friendships, but problems with my expectations and beliefs surrounding friendships. So here are all the lies that we need to unlearn about friendships. Harry has Ron, Serena has Blair, and Woody has Buzz Lightyear. The idea of friendships makes us feel good. It gives us this sense of security in our friendships, but it's also a lot of pressure because you put everything into one person and expect them to meet all of your needs, which, to be honest, I think hardly ever happens. I mean, just think about how hard it is to find a romantic partner to spend the rest of your life with. You have to go through so many bad dates, you're constantly wondering if they're the one, and even if they are, it takes so much work and compromise. And I really don't see how best friends are any different. And I think the other problem when you count on one person too much is that it gets really difficult if you're suddenly in different directions in your life. I always think back to Bridesmaids. That movie is based on Annie feeling threatened by her best friend's other friend. And that is just so relatable, especially when that friend has other things going on in their life which you might not. It might be easier to have only one person to pour all of your energy into, but having a best friend won't solve all of your problems, and I don't think it's any better than having multiple unique friendships, even if they're not as close. It's a nice idea. You're having a hard time, so your friends drop everything to be there for you, but it's also completely unrealistic. They can't sit there messaging you every single day as you talk about the same thing over and over again. They can't just turn up at your house in the middle of the night, bringing wine and comfort snacks if they've got work the next day. And they can't just put their life on hold because your world has stopped. People are busy with their own lives, and sometimes they have things going on too. But this also goes both ways. You don't have to be someone's therapist to be a good friend. And if you do feel like you're being somebody's therapist, I think that's a really good sign that you need better boundaries. I think this is the most unrealistic expectation that I had of friendships, especially adult friendships. It's so easy when you're at school because you see each other every day and you have no real life responsibilities. I would also say it's quite easy at university because you might be living with your friends or you have events organized every single week. But once you leave school, everyone is so busy with their own lives, and it takes actual effort and planning to see each other and even speak to each other. So yes, there might be missed phone calls. You might have WhatsApp messages that have been read but not replied to in weeks, and there might be cancelled plans. But that's not any less of a friendship. In fact, I really think that means that you respect each other's time enough to be understanding. And this was honestly life-changing for me because when I compare some of the friendships I have now to some of my previous ones, yeah, I do talk to my friends a lot less, but I also feel so much more secure in my relationships to know that we don't always need to be talking or seeing each other. And to be honest, that is such a relief. Not that I don't want to see my friends or speak to them, but I just think life is already overwhelming enough without having that additional pressure. On some of my previous videos, people have commented things like, I do all of this stuff for my friends and I never get anything in return. And look, I do get it. I used to feel that way too, and I became really resentful about it. But I've realized that this is a pretty toxic belief. Why should you expect anything in return? Being a good friend isn't about helping someone and then expecting the same back. Friendships aren't meant to be transactional. I mean, you could be the more nurturing type in your friendship, or it might be that you're just insecure, that you're trying to compensate by trying too hard. But either way, that doesn't entitle you to a friendship, and it doesn't mean that your friendship is one-sided either. Yes, to have a friend, I really believe that you have to be a friend, but I also think we have to appreciate that being a friend means something different to everyone. Just think about your own life. When you post on Instagram stories, it's probably on that one day a week where you've decided to go out with people, but the rest of the time, you're just at home in your sweatpants, not posting anything. And that's no different for anyone else. We're just seeing tiny snapshots of people's lives and adding them together, thinking that everyone is social all of the time when that's just not true. It's easy to feel like our social lives should be defined by what we share and to have that pressure to share, but showcasing your social life on social media for external validation doesn't make your friendships any more real. We don't talk about it enough, but friendship breakups are a thing, even if you grew up believing in best friends forever. Sometimes friendships end because of a bad situation, but a lot of the time, friendships just run their course, even the good ones. And I think this is especially true of childhood friendships. Sometimes we want to cling on to people because of memories, but sometimes you do just drift apart as our lives take us in different directions. And I think that's okay, because having a good friend is more important than having an old friend. Most of our early friendships were formed at school and university, but that's only because we were forced to be around the same group of people for 7 hours a day. Once you leave school, it might feel harder to make friends because you're no longer forced out of the house by the requirements of your school, but it's not impossible. All it means is that it's on you. There's no one who's going to do it all for you. And that can be more uncomfortable, but it can also be liberating. You actually get to choose your friends, not settle for people out of convenience. I've actually found it a lot easier making friends since leaving university because I'm not forced into social constructs that I don't enjoy, and I can now be more open to meeting people who are different ages to me or who live in different areas or have different interests. Our world can really open up when we leave school. We just have to keep open minds too. There were some girls from my school that I couldn't stand, and when one of my friends started bitching about them to me, we suddenly got so much closer. And that's bad to admit, I know, but it just felt so good to talk to someone openly, and it was such an easy way to get closer because we already shared such strong feelings. Brené Brown calls this common enemy intimacy. It really is a fast-track way of making a friendship, but it's also completely fake. When a friendship is built on talking about someone else, how do you move on from that? What happens if that friend changes their mind and decides they like that person? What happens when you get sick of talking about other people? Do you always have to moan for you to stay friends? Yes, it might be an easier way to make friends, but it's a rocky foundation to start on. I used to love the idea of having a friend I could tell everything to, but really, what is the need? You don't have to get your friend's approval on a guy before you start dating him. You don't need to tell your friends the ins and outs of problems you have going on in your home. You don't have to share personal news until you're ready, or even at all. Based on TV shows and movies, I thought you also had to share intimate details with friends or talk about what other people are up to.
So you kissed her, so what happened after that?
I came over here to tell you guys.
But now I think that's really disrespectful to your partner and other friends. Being an open book doesn't make you a better friend. Again, it's all about boundaries. I think boundaries are just so undervalued in friendships. I don't know which camp you're in, but a lot of people feel like they either need to have more friends or they've been hurt so many times that they think they don't need anyone. Either way, there's no right answer. I think there's periods of our lives where maybe we're meant to be alone, and I think that's okay. But I also think that if you already have a great circle of friends, you can still keep your heart open to new people. The number is irrelevant because it doesn't measure anything about our life, and that number is always changing anyway. And leading on from that, there's one more lie that we've been led to believe. There's something wrong with you if you have no friends. And that's the worst possible lie you can tell yourself, so please stop. It's crazy that as we get older, our beliefs just stay stuck. We still stay in this fantasy of being on the phone all the time, telling our friends everything, having this 24/7 helpline. Our beliefs about friendships have to grow up with us, and when we have healthier beliefs about friendships, we can have healthier friendships too.